And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another webcast of Wisdom Transmissions. It's going to be a wonderful broadcast today. I'm going to be bringing in Adronis here very shortly, as he's going to be talking more about the role of the human guardians. And I'm going to be doing announcements in the middle part of the broadcast today. But what I would like to share first and foremost is that I was doing some remote viewing just on the moon last night, just getting ready for today's discussion. And I was able to find some incredible discoveries with our moon. And I'll try and give you guys some highlights. I'm trying to remember everything that was uh, discovered through me as I was remote viewing the moon. Now, how I do this is I basically just put a blindfold on and I go into my meditative state. Again, as I've talked about, relating to making the exhale longer, right? Working with the parasympathetic nervous system. That is exactly how you go into the right brain, right? So you're inhaling for 4 seconds, exhaling for 6 seconds, or you could even go longer, exhaling for 8 seconds, what I call Rachaka Pranayama, which is what I've also taught on this channel. And what you're doing is with your exhaling breath, you're just expanding more and more. You're also training yourself to completely keep the left brain out of the picture. You're just letting the right brain show you images, impressions, impulses, and so forth. And I would get visions. I was getting visions last night just going and remote viewing into the moon. Now, what some people will do that can sometimes be a mistake is they will project their entity consciousness into a space. And if there are people in that sense who are psychically aware, they will detect you and they can basically shut you out. They basically just close a dimensional veil and they're gone. They're gone from your perspective altogether. So I don't do that. I don't go into an entity consciousness. What I do, the analogy I give it is it's kind of like if you're taking an eyedropper and you're just squeezing out a drop of water and it's going into the ocean. So what I do is I work together with the collective energy of the moon and I act as that drop. And that drop is now just going through the collective energy, which means it's literally impossible for any entity to discover you if you are in the essence of the collective consciousness energy. So that's what I do, right? So I'm really kind of looking at it from a much more bird's eye view, omniscient perspective. That is how you can prevent any particular type of psychic intrusions. That is how you can prevent anyone from actually knowing that you're looking at them, so to speak, is you become the collective energy. Right? And I was trying to explain that to my partner last night, and she was still trying to understand. I was like, what? Huh? It's just that some people will go in and they will project themselves as themselves, right? They'll have an entity projection of themselves, right? For example, I could project my whole astral body into a room and seeing exactly what's going on, but I don't do that, right? Because then someone can detect you and they can just shut you out completely, right? So you don't do that. You basically just become the collective energy of the celestial body, such as the moon, and that's what I was doing. So as I was looking at the moon, there's a lot of history there. There are approximately 500 million people living on the moon right now. So we have basically about 500 million people. I would say basically 500 million entities because some are human, some are non-human as well. There are various types of beings. The ones that I was able to notice last night was one, humans, right? And they basically are humans from our future. And this is exactly what Adronis refers to them as the human guardians. But they have some kind of like shiny, not too sure if it's shiny or glossy kind of uniform in that way. And they have all of these just installations on the moon. Some of them also go underground as well too. It's almost like looking at transit stations, right? And you're basically taking these conveyances or transit vehicles and going from one side of the moon to the other extremely quickly, right? They also have teleportation devices as well too. But they also have like energy towers. There's like towers that can actually extend out from underground and raise themselves up, and they can project energy throughout the entire space. So I'm thinking that's might be a type of communication or an energy system or something of that nature. I was also able to see different types of beings, avians, where they're not blue avians, okay? But basically avians, they kind of looked humanoid, but they had kind of long beaks in that way. So there were avian beings there, insectoid beings, ant beings, mantis beings, reptilians as well. So the reptilians were a little bit different. They kind of looked more brown. They were kind of a brownish color. They had kind of like brownish helmets. It's kind of interesting. So I was getting a glimpse of that as well too. I was also getting the feeling of, it feels like we have royalty figures in the solar system that will at times come to the moon and pay visits. I was seeing this particular woman that I felt like she was being brought there, and she was just all well dressed up in these like really royal kind of garments, and maybe having like gold or silver upon her as well too. Felt like a royalty figure. So there's some other royalty that's contained in the solar system here that's going from planet to planet. It's very interesting. I've also was able to see different types of ships, right? So again, we have the spherical ships, we have the teardrop vessels, which is quite reptilian in nature, the ones that look like teardrops. There are ones that were cylindrical. There are ones that were saucer-like. You have the saucers, you have the cylinders, you have the spheres, you have the teardrops. You had other ones as well too that were kind of more bulky. They're kind of more bulky like craft. They kind of almost look like the spacecraft that you would see on Star Trek, right? Like not like the Enterprise or anything like that, but kind of similar to that. They would have like long cylindrical nacelles, I guess you could call them, if I'm using Star Trek lingo. But there are ships like that as well too. But a lot of them are just kind of simple shapes, and they may have different add-ons to them in that way. And I'm seeing them just kind of coming and going. And a lot of them basically, there's almost like a trajectory that they have to go into. There's a flight path that ships basically have to follow. And anytime you're noticing any particular ship not following a flight path, well, then it doesn't belong to any of the official ships that may be on the moon in that way. But they all follow particular flight paths, and there's various sizes of them. And I also saw that there's a lot of nature inside the moon, not on the surface, but if you go internally, you'll actually find a lot of nature, like what you would find on Earth. You would find grass, you would find trees, you would find vegetation, right? You would find the idea of it almost kind of reminded me of like aquaponics or something of that nature, but a lot more advanced. So basically, in that sense, internally, there's a lot of food being grown. There's also lakes inside the moon as well too. So a lot of it is it's kind of like the beauty of the Earth, of the moon, I should say, is interior rather than exterior. There's cities on the moon as well too. So there's ones that are in the domes, or again the craters, but there's also other cities that are internal to the moon. Saw a lot of stuff. I'm just trying to remember a lot of the stuff that I was seeing last night when it came to the moon. So thought I would give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek of what is contained on the moon. There's a lot there. So the human guardians, as Adronis has called them, are very much there. I didn't really feel any fighting or anything of that nature. I think that there was disagreements, and I think it's kind of getting different now. The moon is very, very different from how it was a long time ago. If we're looking back at it decades, a lot of it's really been sorted out. Basically, beings that are asked to leave will leave, and that's it. And it didn't have to lead to any particular type of wars or fights or anything of that nature. There was certainly ousting going on, but it's almost kind of like looking at like a political chamber, right? And that there's other races that will come in, and then they will vote other ones out, and the other ones have to leave, and then they get escorted out of the star system, and there's new ones that come in, and it's almost like a senate in a way. It's quite interesting. But again, I'm not trying to get into political science, but that's just kind of what it reminds me of. It's like you're kind of ousting out these beings. There's other beings that are coming in, and if you basically lose by majority, you have to leave. No questions asked. You're no longer part of the treaties. New treaties are being negotiated. Everything is really just being reworked, but it's not leading to bloodshed in that way. There's no bloodshed on the moon or anything of that nature that I was able to detect. I didn't detect any infighting. I didn't detect any wars on the moon, nothing of that nature. In the past, there certainly was, but not now. So anyways, guys, that's my 2 cents of what I was getting when I was remote viewing the moon last night. So there's a lot of fascinating stuff. I've just scratched the surface of it. There's so much more that we can learn about the moon. But this is what I suggest, is everybody just start working together with remote viewing, right? And like I said, if you're taking the Adronis Patreon membership, then he's going to be talking to you a lot more about working with the right brain, learning how to remote view, learning how to connect with the higher self, learning how to live a lot more in the right brain. So again, that's available, right? Patreon.com/Adronis. But anyways, I'm going to get into announcements later. We're going to firstly start off with Adronis and have him come through, and he's going to be talking more about the role of the human guardians. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and take a moment, and I think everything's good. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take a moment to bring Adronis in, and we'll get started. After that, we'll go into announcements, and then we'll go into Q&A. Okay, if you guys have questions for Adronis, making sure that they are semi-personal or general in nature. Personal questions can only be answered through private sessions or through interactions with Adronis on Patreon. Okay, so I'll go ahead and take a moment and we'll begin. All right, here we go. Soul Star Adronis. We are here. At this time, we bid you greetings and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning into this broadcast being brought forward through your internet collective consciousness. What we'd like all of you to do at this time is simply allow yourselves to get relaxed, get comfortable, and tune in to the vibrations of Sirius, so that you may synchronize, harmonize, and align to all of the information that we have to share. Also understand that all of the information that we shall provide today is simply that of our perspective, our point of view. For all knowledge, all information, all creation itself resides within your very hearts, beings, and souls. We have been asked to elaborate a little bit further pertaining to the nature of the role of the human guardians, because we have spoken of the nature of what we have termed as the human guardians. The reason why we term them as the human guardians is because they very much are you. They are very much you from another Earth. And they have been invited here. And they are basically serving as a type of special counsel. They have many different forms of responsibilities. Now, some of the human guardians are not just on the moon. Some of them also have liaison connections here on the Earth. And they will work together in different branches of government and other forms of agencies, and helping others to, shall we say, assist in the upliftment of the Earth and the people of the Earth. Now, again, the human guardians themselves do work with many other different civilizations. It is all a collaborative effort. It is not so much in the idea that the human guardians are at the top of the ladder. They are working together as a group. They are working together in a monad. So there are several other different races in which they are working together with that share technology. They share technology with them. They share technology back. And so it is a mutual exchange. It is something in that sense that is enabling Earth at some particular point to become mutually inhabitable with other civilizations at some point. Not right away, but at some point, where you will be able to share the Earth with other civilizations. It will become a lot more transparent. There will be less hiding. Now, many of the groups, as it were, that are looking to share the Earth with humanity are already upon the Earth in their own, shall we say, veil. They are already a part of their own dimensional Earth, that intersects together with yours. So they are working and operating on the earth, and these beings may be somewhat human or human in that way. Some may be non-human completely, but they are working behind hidden veils. And they are, again, working together in their own way of helping humanity to realize a lot more pertaining to what has been hidden under their nose, so to speak. So they will work together with psychic suggestion. They will also work together in some capacity as liaisons to other, shall we say, leaders upon your planet that are helping the Earth to move forward. They are, again, also utilizing collectively the idea of technology that helps them to see other timelines. We have loosely referred to this as the looking glass technology, but it is a little bit more different. It is a little bit more sophisticated than that. But this is exactly what they were able to do. They also have what you would commonly refer to crudely as think tanks. And through these think tanks, they're able to detect certain, shall we say, resistances upon the planet that are still trying to keep the planet down dimensionally. And so this is exactly why there has been multitudes of assignments of task forces that have come together and will basically infiltrate certain areas of the planet, certain groups upon the planet that are attempting to keep the Earth anchored down. We would say that overall, much of those groups attempting to keep the Earth down are very much few and far between right now. So there is a great deal of assignments, tasks, agendas that are taking place that are helping the Earth to move into what we would refer to as a higher era of time. And that is exactly what the human guardians are here to do, because they have been through what you've been through. And this is exactly why they are essential in the idea of helping humanity to uplift themselves together with the Earth. The Earth is going up, and it's humanity's choice to follow it. So the whole idea here is that they are basically throwing back a lot of the onslaught that much of the, as Brad refers to them as, dirty players have been attempting to do. They have thrown, in that sense, a great deal of confusion, a great deal of fear and control, manipulation, lies, and slander. And a lot of that is being thrown back in their face. So as we stated, it's not so much as the human guardians that are at the top of this pyramid. It is much more higher spiritual beings that are really at the top of this pyramid, as it represents to what you would commonly or loosely term as an alliance. But their role here is to be these particular types of specialists and these guardians that are helping the Earth to uplift. Many of these humans that we term as the human guardians do have a great deal and range of experiences. So some of them are scientists, some of them are engineers, some of them are soldiers of military. Some of them, in that sense, also represent timeline specialists. There are also those in that sense that are very gifted psionically. They do not refer to themselves as psychics in the future. That is an ancient or archaic term in their perspective. They would refer to it much more in that sense of psionic empaths or psionic specialists. And so basically working together through psionic empaths or psionic specialists, these are the ones that will often navigate the particular technology that we're referring to giving glimpses into what you term as your future, relating to the most likely outcomes. If there is anything that is immensely devastating, that harms a great deal of the people on the planet, then these particular forms of timelines are averted. And it is actually not difficult, based on the resources that they have and the connections and the network they have upon your Earth, to avert major timelines that could represent mass destruction. It is also not going to take place representing any particular type of dystopian-like future. That will not happen. These particular things will be talked about, these particular things will be discussed, and they will be attempted to happen, but they will all inevitably fail. You are not moving into a planet that will be dystopian. You are not moving into a totalitarian Earth. You are not moving into a worldwide dictatorship. You have already seen many of those particular attempts of trying to convince you to move in that way, but the majority of the planet has no such interest in that. And so that will not be your future. Your future is very, very bright. But in order for you to get to that, you need to be grounded here and now. You need to see exactly what's happening. You need to play your part. Playing your part is spreading love. Spreading love, spreading information, spreading insight, being there for others, helping others out, knowing when to say no to something that you don't prefer, waking yourself up from situations that you know do not benefit you. These are the things that you are here to do. You are helping to lead the current, because there is a mighty current coming upon the planet that is going to sweep the planet clean of all that represents dirtiness, filth, corruptions, agendas, etc. All of that is going. And so it's just a matter of you being able to stay with the wave. So the human guardians are simply acting as, shall we say, behind the scenes intervention specialists. And they are, again, working together with several different other civilizations. They are also working with many of your world leaders that are in alignment pertaining to what you would know as a world alliance, what Brad commonly refers to as the counterforces. So therefore, the idea of the human guardians, the role that they're playing, is that they are helping to keep everything in balance. They are not here to come in and take care of a lot of personal matters for you. That's not their job. Their role is to look at the earth as a whole, to find out exactly what is in balance, what is not in balance, and whatever is not in balance or attempting to come out of balance, their job is to snuff it out. Their job is to completely and totally release it so that new timelines can be forged that assist for the earth. Because it really is the earth that is getting priority 1 assistance right now. Humans are getting priority number 2 assistance. The earth is getting help first. Then humanity will follow secondly. But again, the human guardians primarily do focus on the idea of their own people. But again, the earth does need to come first. This is the role, the assigned role, that we can share as it relates to the human guardians. All right. We thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction. We will now pause at this time and begin your question and answer period. One moment, please. Okay. So that gives us a little bit more of a role to understanding the role to play of the human guardians. So again, if you guys do have some additional questions with that, you can certainly feel free to put that on the chat. Before we continue, we're just going to go ahead now and go into announcements. After announcements, we'll be getting right into Q&A. All right, so let's go ahead and begin with our announcements.
Private one-to-one sessions have returned with Brad Johnson and Adronis, with appointment times from 30, 45, and 60 minutes online. Offline sessions, including the 3 questions by email and distance healing, are now available. Book your session now through our website, wisdomtransmissions.com.
Get readings with Brianne and be astonished at the depth and accuracy she provides for you through her tarot readings. Brianne can create crystal grids for distance healing, plus offer Reiki and Kundalini attunements. She is also a certified Flying Star Feng Shui consultant. Visit Brianne's website and book your session today at readingswithbrianne.com.
Source Energy enhanced products to repair and rejuvenate the body. From the power of light to crystals to bed kits, card decks, and more. View our free samples, tutorials, and testimonials on our website, etherx.co.
Radiate Regen Centers are expanding our reach around the world, and we want to give back through our new referral affiliate program. You can earn a large income referring your contacts who would be interested in purchasing Radiate Regen industrial strength technology for commercial business, as well as private home use. Spread the word and generate a commission of $360 USD per successful referral. To begin earning today as a referral affiliate, visit radiateregen.com/referral.
And of course, another big announcement that's taking place is I'm going to be introducing Radiate Regen here in Vancouver at Science World on August 25th. So there are tickets that are available right now. You'll see here on the bottom left that you can just use the promo code RADIATE. You will find the link to getting tickets in the video description if you're in Vancouver, if you're coming to Vancouver around the end of August. Of course, my Wisdom Transmission logo is blocking the date there. It's August 25th. That's August 25. Again, I'll be doing kind of an opener of the Radiate Regen and providing a brand new meditation. Now, the mobile app and the browser app is going to be updated here over the next couple of weeks, as I'm going to be putting meditations into the app itself. The meditations goal is that it's going to lead you through a very strong healing process, but it's also telling you about the inner mechanisms about how Radiate works. So we will have a free version, free meditation for the free version, and we will have a paid version for the premium version. Okay, the premium version meditation is much longer, but the free version and the paid premium version meditations will give you the entire inner workings of how Radiate works, how it functions, what it can do for you, and leading you through a guided meditation that will bring about instant rejuvenation. So this is a very similar experience specifically for the Radiate Regen technology. This is what I talk about. Radiate Regen is the type of technology that we use for private homes and for commercial use. Okay, this is why there's that referral video being shared, because all you have to do is you sign up and you just tell a person, okay, do you want to have Radiate Regen in your home? Yeah, I'd like to sign up for it. You take them to a page, they sign up, they fill out a form, they add you as the referral. Once you're added as the referral, you get $360 USD in your pocket once they have successfully purchased the license, right? So what I'm doing here with the IMAX experience, because this is going to be on an IMAX screen, is I'm broadcasting the Radiate Regen technology on that big screen. It's something that has never been done before. Usually, again, I like to have multiple screens, but I don't feel it's necessary because of the oval-shaped geometry of the IMAX screen in Vancouver Science World. So this is going to be really, really exciting. This is the very first time that I've ever done anything like this, and it's going to be really exciting. This is just kind of, again, the introduction to it. It's 30 minutes in length. After that, you can enjoy what's referred to as anahata, which is a deep breathing, balancing experience, which is really beautiful as well too. But this is opening the door for Radiate Spectrum, which really is the Radiate Regen technology coming out in a larger form. So basically filling auditoriums, filling movie theaters, because I look to do this a lot more down the road, going to different cities and basically booking out an auditorium or a movie theater or maybe another IMAX and being able to broadcast Radiate Regen on the screen and having this powerful experience. I have never done anything like this before. And so all I know is it's going to be extremely powerful. I have big TVs in my home, and just using the big TVs themselves are powerful. But now we have an IMAX screen where you can broadcast Radiate Regen on it. I can't begin to tell you how powerful that will be, right? And this is why I call it an instant body healing experience, because you're getting the entire dome of Science World charged with Radiate Regen technology. That is phenomenal. So I invite you to join me. Again, it's going to be on August 25, Vancouver Science World. Okay, and again, I'll be doing a 30-minute meditative journey to instantly rejuvenate the body and the mind. So again, you'll find the link in the video description of this video. Use promo code RADIATE and get 5% off your ticket price. Okay, so you go ahead and sign up for that. It's going to be an amazing experience. I'm looking forward to that. The tickets are actually selling very fast, so it's good to get them while you can. So that is one of the big announcements I wanted to share. And the final announcement, of course, is Adronis Patreon. Okay, so people who have already signed up to Adronis Patreon, another benefit that you may not realize that you have is that you can ask Adronis questions directly, right? All you do is you just send me a direct message through Patreon regarding your question. I review your question and then I create a video for it, and then it gets posted on the timeline of the Patreon website. Okay, so every single Sunday we do have our meeting. We do have our Adronis classroom, I should say, that takes place 9 a.m. every Sunday, 9 a.m. Pacific time. If you're not able to make it, don't fret. Like I said, you can leave questions and Adronis can answer them if you're not able to attend. And again, even at any time, for all paid members, you'll be able to just ask Adronis questions. I create a video with him, put it up on the timeline, and it's there for you. So it's very exciting. So again, our Patreon membership starts at $18 per month. It has a 7-day free trial period, right? So if you haven't signed up yet, you can sign up for the 7-day free trial. It is patreon.com/Adronis. With the $18 membership, you're getting the Adronis Face courses, which is basically a $100 value that you're getting included. You're also getting, again, access to all of the classrooms every single Sunday, and you're also getting access to Ask Adronis questions whenever you feel you'd like to. Okay. Then we have the $88 plan, which is the second tier, and that includes everything aforementioned, and it also includes a 30-minute private session with Adronis, where you just direct message me and ask me when you would like to do your session, and then we set it up. Okay. So check that out. That is patreon.com/Adronis. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and move on into our Q&A period. So I will go ahead and get to the comments. I'll say good morning and good afternoon and good evening to everybody that's here. And like I said, donation-based questions are going to go first. So if you do have a donation-based question for Adronis or myself, you can put that on and you will be put in priority sequence. Okay, let's go to Sean. Sean is the first donator. So Sean says, hi, Adronis. Is there an ice wall beyond which there are vast lands that Earth is actually a far larger planet? And is our realm under quarantine? Okay, so there's a couple questions here. So I'll go ahead and bring Adronis in, and he can share some information pertaining to that. Okay, one moment. We are here. Thank you very much, Sean, for your question. As it pertains to your first question about vast ice walls that, again, carry forward the idea of greater lands to where Earth is larger than you may believe. Well, you are on to something, but we would not say that you are correct about the ice lands or the ice walls. That would be incorrect. That is what you would often refer to through your interpretation of a flat Earth. All right. And that's not how it works. Your world is not flat. All right. It is spherical. That is the nature of the Earth. It is no more different than every other planet that you see through your telescopes. Many of your amateur astronomers are able to see the spherical nature of your moon, the spherical nature of Mars, the spherical nature of Venus or Mercury or Jupiter or Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, etc. And they all admit that they're all spherical. Why do you think your Earth is different? It's not. It is the exact same geometry. Yes? There is no such thing as the idea of ice walls that are barricading you in, helping you to see from greater lands that are beyond them. If that was the case, many of you would actually have that type of footage, and you don't. The whole idea of the Earth is that she is a world within a world. You're so busy looking at the externals and thinking that this is exactly where it needs to show up, when that is not correct. The Earth herself truly does represent a realm. She is a plane of existence. That is her nature. Even your own Nikola Tesla was admitting it. Just not saying that this is just a planet, but it is a world that represents a realm. It is a world that represents a plane of existence. There are worlds within the world. That's why you have different dimensional Earths. That's why you have Earths of other themes that are being explored as well, too. So you're looking at a vastness that resides from within the Earth, not externally. And that is where many of you get confused. You create these ideas that these ice walls are able to keep you in a habitat zone, that as you go beyond the ice walls, that there's even more to the Earth. And that is basically trying to justify a flat model of it. Completely incorrect. All right. So there is a vastness to Earth. Yes, it is larger than you believe it to be, but that is because of its internal vastness, not external, but internal vastness. It is inside that counts, not so much the outside. All right? One moment, please. All right, we are to understand that your second question is representing that of quarantine. Is the Earth still under quarantine? Yes, it is. All right. So again, if it was not under quarantine, your people would be much more open to the idea of exploring the stars. But it's not open. It is not something that is available to you right now. So everything pertaining to the planet Earth is meant to contain you on this planet up until a certain point. There will come a time where the idea of space travel, again, being able to explore the universe, will be available to humanity, but not yet. You need to mature first. You cannot just go out into the stars if you are still fighting each other, if you are still battling one another, if you don't know how to take care of yourselves, if you don't know how to take care of your planet. You haven't reached graduation with that yet. When your Earth starts turning around, when humanity starts turning around, when you start working together as a unified consciousness, that's what's going to grant you open access to the stars. You haven't learned that yet. You're still in the process of moving in that direction. We're not saying that all of you haven't learned that yet. There are some of you who have, but there are most of you who have not. And again, you're still concerned about money. You're still concerned about politics. You're still concerned about government. You're still concerned about career and jobs. You're still concerned about the idea of food supply. You're still concerned about the ideas and situations like pollution and contamination and war. All of this can't be here. All of that has to go. When all of that goes and you start turning yourselves around and the Earth now starts to prosper, the quarantine ends. That is what we would refer to as planetary graduation. So that needs to happen a lot more. Your Earth cannot be waking up in constant pain like she is every single day. She's waking up in pain because humanity is constantly giving her wounds. They are constantly injuring her. They don't even let her take care of her own ecosystem. They're constantly moving the weather around. They're constantly geoengineering. They're constantly polluting her air. They're constantly polluting her land. They're constantly polluting her oceans. Do you think that that is what's going to drop the idea of a quarantine? No. Humanity needs to grow up. Humanity needs to mature. Once it starts to mature and once you start to turn everything around, where you're working with your Earth, you're healing her wounds. You're not continuing to cause them. Because how you live is completely and totally backwards. When you look at your modern societies, none of you live properly at all. Because that's not how you're meant to live. You're meant to live together to coexist with nature, with the nature of the Earth. You are here to learn from the Earth. She is your mother. She is your teacher. Few of you actually learn from her. So you're walking backwards. And until all this changes, quarantine will remain until maturity is established. All right? We thank you very much, Sean, for both of your questions. Okay. Very good. Thank you very much, Sean. We will go back into some of the other questions here. So I'm just going to start off at the top of the chat and work my way down. Again, if there are any other donation-based questions, I will go to them. Okay, let's go to Christine. Christine here has a question. Says, hi, Brad. Could you please ask Adronis about the difficult situation in the UK, protesting and fighting going on in most UK cities? I had a feeling somebody was going to ask about this today. So yes, we will go ahead and take a look at that, about the fighting, protests, riots that are going on in the UK and around the UK and around the UK cities. Okay, one moment. We thank you very much for your question, Christine. Now, we want you to look back at some particular type of occurrences before we talk to you a little bit more about your United Kingdom situation, all right? When you have had protests before that you turned to be organic, was there really any fighting involved in those protests? And you would look back and you would say, no, not at all. There were peaceful protests. That when the people come together, it is peaceful. You look at certain freedom convoys, you look at other particular forms of protests that are taking place upon the planet, and it is well organized, it is well governed, it is well put together, and there is a feeling of love and peace there. What you are seeing with the idea of many of these riots is that they are instigated. All right? These riots and these violent protests are instigated, which means they are basically put together by dirty players. So that is how you can tell when something is actually organic, that is created by the people, and something that is inorganic and instigated for riots to happen. So again, what you will notice with a lot of the riots and the violent protests taking place is that a lot of these particular people that are egging it on would hold what you would know as criminal activity. They would basically be criminals. And they are the ones that are actually instigating these riots. They will tell people to get violent. And a lot of the violence that's coming through are often through other criminals, or those in that sense that are much more susceptible to criminal behavior. The riots themselves are more of an instigation, quite commonly to what you would refer to as a psychological operation, a psyop. It is paid for through the other side, as it were, through the dirty players, to basically create violence and chaos. Because as we stated, when we look at your history and we see a lot of these particular protests happening, that were peacefully run, it was nothing like this. So this is what we're saying, is that a lot of these particular forms of riots are instigated, all right? And they're doing that because, again, it's all part of a fear agenda, to keeping you afraid of stepping outside, to keeping you afraid that you cannot go peacefully throughout your cities. It's all creating the idea of chaos. It's all creating the idea of fear and control. And that's exactly why it's happening. It's trying to keep the idea of their own agendas running. But like everything else, it falls apart. Because again, there will be more deeper investigations relating to the idea of some of these particular rioters who have been instigators. And you will know much more about their past. So very much the idea of the riots that are happening around your United Kingdom at this time are instigated riots. All right? We thank you for your question. Yes. And that's the thing, guys. Whenever you're noticing that there are riots, there are violent protests, there are people who are breaking windows, there are people who are fighting police, there are people who are fighting each other, it wouldn't surprise me if it's, again, psychological operations. We've seen these before. This is not something new. These riots have always been instigated. They have always been paid for. They basically get instigated through the dirty players. So that's exactly what you see when you see riots. If we look at something like the Freedom Convoy in Canada, when that was taking place, did you see how peaceful that was? There was nobody breaking windows. There were nobody fighting. I mean, there were kids bouncing in bouncy castles, right? That is something that's organic. That's created by the people. What you're seeing in the UK is not created by people, okay? It's created by corporations. That's created by the corrupt billionaires, okay? Those are instigated fights. Those are instigated riots, and they do that. It's a smokescreen, okay? So don't buy into that thinking that that's what the common everyday person is doing, because they're not, right? That's criminal behavior. And like I said, it's all part of the illegal immigration. Like I said, you have hundreds of thousands, perhaps even millions of illegal migrants coming into the country. And they're the ones that are instigating a lot of these fights, right? So that's all part of the chaos. But like I said, with that comes exposure and truth. And that will come very shortly. Thank you, Christine, for your question. Okay, we have another donation-based question here from Smyrna Gal. Okay, I didn't get a question from her. Let me see if I can scroll down a little bit more. Maybe she put one Okay, there we go. Yeah. So here's her question. Can Adronis give some examples of how to build harmony with the earth, or should we not build? Okay, one moment. So building harmony with the earth. Okay, or should we not build? Okay, here we go. We thank you very much, Smyrna Guru, for your question. Should we build in harmony with the earth? Absolutely. Is there an example of how that has happened? Look towards your indigenous people. Look towards your Native Americans. Look into your Aboriginals. Look into your indigenous. Look at how they were in harmony with the earth. We are not saying in any way not to build structures, not to build shelters, not to build habitats with yourself. On the contrary, that's all part of human life. We are not saying not to have technology. On the contrary, that is all part of human life. We are not saying not to grow your own food and not to have your own crops and not to have your own farms and your own gardens. On the contrary, that's all part of human life. What we are saying is do not build habitats that pollute, that consume, that harm the earth. Do not contaminate the soil. Do not contaminate the air. Do not contaminate the water. That again will poison you and poison much of the life upon the surface of the earth. If you are looking in the idea of rebuilding, you want to rebuild everything that is in harmony. You have to understand exactly what the ancients did for them to continue to live in the way that they did. They would build cities, but these cities represented a geometrical harmonic, and they were created in that way to function as a capacitor. That's the nature of what you would find with many of these ancient cities, like Angkor Wat, or again, ancient ruins that you would find throughout the Inca, through the ancient ruins that you would find throughout the Maya, and so forth, is that they would build cities that were capacitors. And you would have pyramids, you would have glyphs, you would have standing stones. And that these particular pyramids, glyphs, standing stones, and so forth would be the power generators. And they would distribute themselves throughout the entire land, going out miles and miles. And the cities that were built together in the nature of these capacitors would absorb this energy. And this absorption of energy could be used for electricity. It can actually be used to conduct electricity. Many of you speak about the nature of the Ark of the Covenant. That when you look at that large box and you look at the Great Pyramid of Giza and you go into the king's chamber and you see the sarcophagus, you will notice that if you are able to accurately measure the dimensions of the box that represents the Ark of the Covenant together with the sarcophagus, it fits perfectly. Do you know why? Because that's the battery of the Great Pyramid of Giza. And that there are other boxes like that throughout other civilizations. They are capacitors. They are batteries. They are generators. And that is something that can continue to prolifically radiate divine energy upon the planet, from what you would refer to as your scalar, your living prana, that basically makes the entire land fertile, that could actually be utilized for wireless electricity. Do you think that your Nikola Tesla did not know this? This is exactly what he knew. He knew exactly how the ancients generated power, and he was attempting to do it in a modern way, to basically electrify the atmosphere and having receivers that could receive that wireless electricity, because the ancients did it. So this is what we're talking about: completely, totally abundant and clean energy that you can use to power everything. You can use it to power your homes. You can use it to power your vehicles. You can use it to power your appliances, everything. Your computers, your digital portable devices, everything could be powered through a wireless grid, because that is what the ancients had all over the world, going back thousands of years previously, until that technology was lost. Because again, the idea of the loss came through war, came through the idea of conquering, that they did not want to give the people such things. They wanted to have it for themselves. And this is what led to the idea of the dismantling of much of the power grid that was once upon your planet. We are saying that you now have the capability and the know-how and the technology to recreate something like that. Tesla left you the clues. And it's just a matter of recreating it, which means you don't need to burn oil. You don't need to burn coal. You don't need nuclear power. You don't need any of that. That's all together because of greed. So what we're talking about is to abolish those particular types of technologies. They are not in any way efficient. They are not in any way beneficial for yourselves. They are not in any way beneficial for the earth. When you are working together with the earth, you're listening to her. She comes first. That's the most important thing. Without an earth, none of you survive. And what you have done is you have put yourselves first. And that's wrong. You have been living wrong. And your indigenous, since that time, were the ones that were living right, because they put the earth first. And you do not. And this is why we say that earth requires top priority. Without her, none of you survive. And that is why you need to learn to listen to her, to start talking to her, to help to heal her wounds, because she is being constantly lacerated, bruised, and beaten by many of you daily. Daily. And that is what you need to work with. You're her stewards. You're the ones that are here to help take care of her, to ensure that she continues to take care of you. And you haven't been doing it because you let this continue. You let this type of technology continue. You let this type of way of life continue. She is being choked while you're being choked. She is being lacerated while you're being lacerated. When she gets hurt, you're going to get hurt. You need to stand up. You need to function as the stewards of this planet and take care of your world. And you haven't been doing it. Not enough. There needs to be more of you standing up and taking responsibility, because that's why you're here. You are stewards of the earth. And anybody that is attempting to harm the earth, you need to intervene on. You're going to say, no, we are not going to accept that type of technology. We would rather live as the indigenous than hurt the earth. Because you have become completely enamored by conveniences to the point where you feel like you're hurting yourselves while the earth is hurting. Oh, but we have this technology because we can use our phones, because we can power our homes, when it is dirty and it is causing harm to the earth. You see, this is why we say humanity has not yet matured. If you put yourselves first before the earth, then you are immature. And that is exactly why you're staying put until you grow out of that. Because that is ignorance. The earth wants your help. The earth wants to work with you. And this is exactly why when you look at much of your Native Americans, indigenous people, Aboriginals, and they look at modern human, they are the first to tell you all that you're stupid. Because you don't listen to the earth. You don't hear her song. She wants to work with you. She wants to make everything perfect for you. But you don't want to do that for her. And that's what needs to change. So when you are building You are building in harmony with the earth. You are working with organics. You are working with technology to which Nikola Tesla himself discovered. You are realizing that there are scientists across the planet that are reproducing Tesla's work and being able to provide wireless electricity all over the planet. That can be done. You have the means, you have the blueprints, you have the technology, but very few of you are actually behind that idea. Do you know why? Because many of you don't even think it exists when it does. These are the things that we're talking about. Build with her cleanly and complementary. Help her to heal. Be in nature. Share your love with the entire planet. Look at everything that she provides and give her that love and compassion back. That's how you're healing wounds. Choose to live in the way that is complementary to your planet, not against her, where you're not giving her fresh wounds, where you're not hurting her. That's really what we can say. And this is what your ancient people know. This is what your indigenous people know. This is what your aboriginals know. This is what your natives know. And it's time you got educated by them, because they know how to take care of the earth. You do not. And you need the education to ensure that you can, because that is the times ahead, is for everybody to learn how to work together with the earth, to complement her, to be compassionate and loving and understanding with her. She will work with you. She's given all of this to you without expecting anything in return. And she has been raped, and she has been pillaged, and she has been attacked, and she has been lacerated, and she has been bruised, and she has been gorged by you. And it's time to turn that around. All right? We thank you for your question. Okay. That's very important, my friends, right? Like I said, we've talked about that quite extensively in the past as well, too. And it is so important that the times ahead, especially for our future generations, they need to know how to work together with the earth. And what I would suggest is, if we have communities, right, whether it's indigenous people, whether it's the natives, whether it's the aboriginals, so forth, you get together with them and you get that education, because they are the ones, they're really the only ones on this planet who actually know how to work in harmony with the earth. It's sad, but this is exactly how we've been programmed and conditioned on this planet, and it needs to change. Okay, let's go to some more donation-based questions here. This one here is from NM Tumbleweed. So they say, are there not negative polarized beings who are interfering with the natural evolution of our planet and her people? And are they causing this quarantine? Okay. There most certainly are beings that have done that. But like I said, these are the instigators. I'm not too sure if you're asking me this question or Adronis, but I can tell you exactly what Adronis has shared about it. Right? These are instigators upon the planet. So really, a lot of them have come here because they have seen Earth as a resource. They're not even really too concerned about humanity, other than seeing humanity as cattle or slaves or anything of that nature. And so you basically have a lot of these parasitical beings that have come here in the ancient past, posing as the ancient gods, right? The ancient gods were the ones that are actually teaching humankind how to live, how to work, how to do all of this, right? And it had been perverted. It had been infiltrated by these parasitical beings, because they would see the earth, they would see how lush and beautiful she is, they would see all the resources that were on her surface, and they wanted that. And they knew that, again, as the human populace was there, they couldn't just go down and start mining this, because that would violate an interventional law and they would be taken out of the star system, right? So instead, what is allowed is they're allowed to coerce. They're allowed to manipulate. They're allowed to flaunt themselves, believing that they were our gods and that we had to follow their decrees, right? Representing the idea of sacrifice, representing the idea of mining, representing the idea of just raping the world of resources so that they could go back to their own world and start fixing it up with the resources that they would receive here, because the abundance of ores that are contained upon the earth is a very rare thing. Even other Earth-like planets don't have the richness of ores as like what we have here. Earth is a very, very special world, right? She is rich with everything, right? She's the diamond in the rough, so to speak. She is just a jewel that radiates throughout the entire cosmos. She is extremely rare. And to find the amount of ores, to find the amount of resources on a planet like this is an extremely rare thing, right? Other Earth-like planets do have certain ores, but not to the extent of like what we have here. So this is why the Earth has had a target on her back by certain species who have not been able to evolve themselves. And this is why a lot of the quarantines on other worlds right now are a lot more strict than how they used to be. Going back many thousands of years, it wasn't there. But there's a lot of changes happening together through a lot of these confederations, through a lot of these organizations on an interstellar level. There's a lot more stepping up in the idea of appropriate quarantine, so you do not have a bunch of riffraff civilizations that are going to other worlds, pillaging their resources, looking at the species that is there that is attempting to evolve, corrupting that species, trying to get them all into war and fighting over illusionary gods, and basically be at odds with one another, and putting them into separation consciousness aspects, which of course was very much outlined for what needed to happen with humanity. But nonetheless, it's been a lesson not only for us, but for many other civilizations that have come across. They have learned a lot from humanity. Thousands and thousands of different civilizations observe us, and they see exactly what has happened to us throughout the centuries. And it has helped them to evolve themselves at the same time. Really, the entire universe is getting its cue from the Earth. Can you believe that? They're getting their cue from us. Why? Because the human being on this planet is the most advanced universal model of incarnation that there is. We're the ultimate. A lot of races will even call us royalty. They will call us royalty. They will call us, the most advanced beings there is, because that's what we are. But what has happened is we've put so many veils upon ourselves. We put so much programming of separation consciousness upon ourselves that we just think we're this. We just think that we're just this physical body, and we live, we eat, we sleep, and we die, right? And that's the nature of ourselves, and it's not, okay? So a lot of these beings that have been the riffraff, who have come here, again, what we could say negatively polarized, yes, have come here, and they basically had their own means. They had their own agendas. They wanted to look out for number one, and boy, do we know that problem, right? And they pass a lot of their insecurities onto us because they start teaching a lot of these emissaries or envoys upon the planet that often represented kings, emperors, and so forth. And the kings and emperors would offer up their daughters to them. It's very much like what you talked about we've all talked about, I should say, with the Elohim, the Anunnaki, etc., about them coming upon the earth and being completely enamored by the women of the earth and getting them pregnant and then giving birth to giants and so forth. A lot of that represents metaphysicality, but it can also represent certain physical aspects that have happened literally on the earth. So our earth, unfortunately, guys, has been pillaged for many thousands of years because she is such a precious jewel. But there is a time that we entered a dark age, and that dark age was the idea of invaders coming here, again, like distant parasites coming in and trying to manipulate the civilizations on the planet, acting like they were the gods and that they basically got them to mine and just do all kinds of, slave intolerant things. So this is exactly why this has happened. They have interfered. There has been interference. If there was not interference, humanity would never know duality. Humanity would never know the idea of negative polarity or the nature of separation consciousness. If there was no intervention on this planet, we would not have the wars that we were having, right? A lot of the wars were instigated by extraterrestrials, okay? Not the ones that we're talking about, the ones that are helping humanity. But like I said, it's a smorgasbord of different races out there. And unfortunately, there were some insecure ones that came upon here at the time where there was really not that much of you could say basically a defense system that's here now is incredible, right? Our entire solar system is safeguarded right now. back in the day, it wasn't. And certain civilizations could just come here. There are even other riffraff civilizations that would be able to abduct groups of humans and do God knows what to them. Okay, those were the old days before we had any of those particular type of protection grids. But like I said, the entire universe has been learning from what we are doing here on the earth. That is how special we are. That is how special the earth is. And so many people don't believe it, but even in my conversations with Adronis, and Adronis is all about the idea of talking to thousands of different species from all over. And he will say the majority of the civilizations that are here, I wouldn't say worship humanity, but they have such a reverence for humanity, for who and what they are, for what they're capable of. Look, do you have any idea how much we amaze our star ancestors with what we're capable of doing? Just how we create, how we manifest things, how we're able to just shift and do all these different things, and how to do it so quickly. It blows them away, right? They can't believe we have that capability. But they're also very upset that we have treated the earth that we have, the way we have, but they're starting to understand, again, a lot of the programming that has taken place with us. And this, again, is what Adronis is constantly trying to drill in our heads. You have to take care of the earth. You have to take care of the planet, right? If she's not here, you're not here. She needs to be priority number one, right? She has to be your first priority on the list. That's your family. Without the earth, you have no family. Without the earth, you have no life. Without the earth, you have nothing here that you could achieve. And this is why putting earth first needs to happen, right? So yes, there's been a lot of intervening on the natural evolution of humanity. And that's exactly why during this time, it's a cleanup time. We have to sort ourselves out. And there's going to be a lot more assistance down the road. We just have to get past this first phase. The first phase is just getting the corrupt off the planet. Once you start getting the corrupt off the planet, oh my God, guys, the generations ahead are going to be living a life that you can't even possibly imagine. Even our science fiction and our fantasy books and movies and all that sense can't do it justice. Our generations that are ahead, that are coming into a mature cycle, when they are here, you would not believe it. You would not believe how amazing things would be, right? You are basically having your DNA turned on. You're having these incredible out-of-body experiences. You're having these expansion states. You're able to visit different planes of existence. You're able to go to different dimensional Earths, just as natural as it is for you to travel to the supermarket, right? All of these things are going to come online. Incredible healing modalities, extending your life hundreds of years. That's what's ahead for our greater generations, right? It's kind of like if you're my age, 45, it's like looking at our great-great-grandchildren, right? About what they are going to be going through. And they will not have a world like this one at all. They will actually have a hard time believing that we actually live like this. You guys live like that? You guys were constantly at each other's throats? You didn't see the call of nature? You couldn't even sift in between dimensions? Nope. Right? It's kind of like how you're trying to teach your kids or your grandkids about how you once had dial-up internet and now it's all broadband, right? And they have a hard time, like, really, dial-up? Weird. Okay, that's crazy. So, but the whole idea is that on an evolutionary level, right, looking at I could say my great-great-grandchildren would be in such a place where the earth is just magnificent. She's so clean. Everything's cleaned up. Her air is pure. Her water is pure. Everybody's growing crops. There's no such thing as poverty. There would never be the idea of a hand lifting up against another hand, creating war. None of that exists. And we could basically say that is Earth in the next 100 years. That's Earth in the next century. But we are right now being the transitioners. We're transitioning, and I can hear people groaning, oh, but Brad, I want this right now. Well, we are not. Okay? It's not your Earth to decide where we are and where we're not. This is where we are. We're being the pioneers. And we're still going to see some incredible times come together because it's the benchmark of something even greater. You are not going to have great-great-grandchildren living in a dystopian world. You are not going to have great-great-grandchildren living with poverty or totalitarianism. All of that's going to fall. All of that's going to be destroyed because that's not allowed to happen. It's not congruent with the major timelines. that are coming together here. And like I said, you guys have to see this for yourself. I've already seen it, right? But this is exactly what I'm talking about. So tumbleweed, this is what I'm sharing with you pertaining to that, is that we've had a lot of corruption in the past. We've had a lot of unlawful, as I'll call it, intervention in the past that has shaped humanity into going through a dark age. But again, it was always prophesied that humanity would go through these dark ages, right? We've had prophecies going back all the way from ancient Greece and ancient Atlantis, telling about this time that there would be a dark period upon the earth, that darkness would fill the earth, but at some particular point, that darkness will completely and totally dissipate, and the light will be brought back, and humanity will become wiser and greater, far more intelligent, far more spiritual than anything we could ever possibly imagine. So take that for what it's worth. But Tumbleweed, thank you very much for your question. Okay, let's move on. Okay. Here's an interesting healing question I think we'll go into. Leia says, is it possible to dissolve cataracts naturally? Yes, it certainly is. So again, guys, we have to understand that any particular difficulty we have with the body are relating to toxins, are relating to metals, viruses, pathogens, etc. The key to all of it, my friends, is elevating the cell's millivoltage. Okay, that's what you're doing. That is the entire nature of Radiate itself. Okay, so when I've developed Radiate, its entire nature is to function like a charging station, and you're the living battery. When your cells are constantly being pumped up with more higher millivoltage, whether it's in the eyes, whether it's in the brain, whether it's in the nervous system, wherever it may be, your body is going through an immense change. As that immense change happens, these cells are now starting to get a lot of the energy they needed to self-heal and self-correct, which means they're able to override toxins, viruses, pathogens, bad bacteria, everything. Everything starts getting completely and totally cleaned up because you're charging your body every single day with what it needs. That is what Radiate is all about, right? What I'm looking at here, right here with etherics, okay, utilizing technology, working with crystals, working with the mandalas, working together with the bed kits, working together with all of those things. They are specifically designed to elevate the cells, the millivoltage of the cells in the body. And that is what's going to help to bring about correction. Okay. As I said, that this is all ancient technology that is just coming back into the modern world. I'm just putting a modern spin on it, where we're using it through mobile phones, or we're using it through the computers. Whereas I'm going to be going to Science World IMAX and putting that on a big screen and leading people in meditation through it and having really incredible effects with it. So that's really the whole idea. This is not just about cataracts. This is about everything, right? Cancer can be healed by this. Diabetes can be healed by this. I know there's censorship, but still, got to tell you the truth, right? A lot of these things themselves can be completely and totally healed. And like our own fruits and our own vegetables, when they are clean, if we're able to grow our own fruits and our own vegetables, that is the best quality of food you could ever ask for, is when you're personally growing it, right? When you're putting your feet into the soil, when you're putting your saliva into the soil, right? When you're imprinting your own DNA into the soil of a growing garden, all of those vegetables and fruits are going to carry your DNA. And they are going to be specifically aligned to supercharge your body. Do you know that they have done scientific research on fruits, on vegetables, being able to put diodes directly into them and being able to measure their millivoltage? And then you take something like a dead tray of meat and you poke it in there, and there's absolutely no voltage coming out of that meat whatsoever. This is the difference. This is what they're discovering, is that they can just hook up diodes into fruit, into vegetables, and they can actually measure their millivoltage. And it's quite high up there. And when we're looking at dead meat and all that stuff and processed garbage that we eat, it's dead food, right? So that's the difference primarily between living food and dead food. If you want to have a little bit of meat, okay, but try not to make that the norm, right? Try to have more fruit and more vegetables in yourself, because that's what's giving you a heightening of millivoltage. That's why people get so well when they become vegetarian, when they become fruitarian, when they become vegan in that sense. They get their whole body charged up. It's cleaning out their body. Radiate's doing that as well. Radiate is doing that through energy. Radiate is doing that through scalar. Radiate is doing that through natural frequencies of the earth and of the body. And it's completely and totally replenishing you. And over time, the more that you're exposed to it, cataracts will be gone. Guys, I've already told you that I've been able to heal my eyesight. I had prescription eyeglasses because my left eye was basically just completely out of alignment. It wasn't a cataract, but it basically had a type of misalignment. I can't remember the scientific term for it. But basically all I did is I started working together with etherics. I started using the visor sunglasses. I started putting on the organite necklace. And I also started doing a lot of my own inner work. And within about 8 to 12 weeks, my eye has been completely corrected. I'm not doing this anymore to try to look at comments because that's what I used to do. I can look at it right from here, which means my eye has been completely and totally restored. So how have I done that? Well, I certainly didn't get help from lens crafters. I certainly didn't get help from medical doctors. I certainly didn't get help from any traditional McDonald's-based medical system here. And what I did is I worked with the technology of the ancients. I worked with the power of consciousness, and I was able to completely restore my sight, right? And that's what you guys can do as well too. So cataracts can absolutely be dissolved if you're working together with phenomena or contents that you're putting into the body that is helping to restructure your cells and improve their millivoltage. Radiate does that. Natural foods does that. Living foods does that. That's what I can suggest, Lay. You continue to do that, you're noticing that your cataracts will dissolve. And it will happen over time. Okay? Thank you for your question. That's the natural healer, my friends. It's exactly why the earth has provided all of this stuff for us. Like the living foods that we're meant to eat, not the dead ones. Okay, let's go to Pung Tech SE. Okay, so they ask, can you ask Adronis about screen technologies, LED, LCD, etc.? Which ones are good or safe? Which ones aren't? And is there a way to make the bad ones safe? Okay, one moment. We thank you very much for your question as it pertains to your, shall we say, screen technology, your LEDs, your LCDs in that sense. And do they represent certain types of toxic effects? They certainly do. Because you have to understand that when you're looking at a common flat screen television, that it contains LED technology. You have to remember that LED represents light emitting diodes. So what does that mean? Which means every LED is a focal point. It is a focal concentration of light. And that will take a considerable amount of damage upon your eyes. Many of you will have, shall we say, skewed vision, mainly because of the screens that you're staring at constantly. All right? It's just in the way that they are designed. Now, can there be some type of screen that is produced that will not generate that effect? You would want to look into projection technology. All right? You want to look into projection because projection basically disperses the light. It is not shining directly upon you. The projection of the light itself is coming upon another area, and then you are simply observing the projection. So the projection itself would be much more beneficial if you have a lot more projection-based technology. The other suggestion we would use in that sense is actually being able to temper glass, where it is basically filtering out a considerable amount of blue light. Also looking into the idea of glass that helps to filter out the intensities of LED significantly more than what is commonly available, so that you're actually not losing the brightness of the screen so that you cannot see. The glass is tempered in such a way to protect your eyesight, preventing further damage from the LED point source that is causing problems with your eyes. It actually becomes prevented. So it can be utilized in that sense by working with tempering of certain types of glass that are, again, created in common laboratories that are basically preventing the extreme amounts of LED effects, lighting, that is taking place upon your eyes. So through the idea of tempered glass or through the idea of projections, this is something that would spare your eyes considerably more. All right. We thank you. Okay. So it's kind of like having tempered glasses if you were to see a reflection in the mirror in a way, is that you still have a screen, but all of the intensity of that light is not peering directly into your eyes. This is basically what Adronis is trying to say, is that you have a certain type of tempered glass that feels almost like a reflection more than the idea of a direct light source coming upon your eyes. There's a way of how you temper it to make it much more reflective in nature, because when you're actually seeing it as a reflection, it doesn't create that intensity of barrage of energies coming upon your eye that's causing it to be causing it to degrade over time. LED screens, even what I'm looking at right here, is terrible. I don't know if they have something like that in the works, of where they're basically going to look at a screen almost like you would look at a reflection, right? It's like if you're looking at a reflection in the mirror, or if you're looking at a reflection of light or a projection of light, and you have a screen that basically reciprocates that, where it's still bright to see, but it's not impacting your eyes, then maybe there's something like that ahead for the future. Other than that, utilizing things like projectors and using projections shining upon walls would be far more better for your eyesight. Okay. There is, of course, blue light filters and all that, but that's not really enough. The problem is the light emitting diodes hitting your eyes, whether it's blue light or not. It's still causing degradation to your eyesight, whether there's a blue light filter or not. It's because of the intensity of the LEDs. Okay? So working at it with a tempered glass that represents the nature of reflection or a projection would be a lot more better for that. Okay, so that's what I'm getting for that for you. Thanks for your question. I think we have enough time to take one more question, guys. We're almost out of time here. Okay, here's one from Reba. You guys have some really good questions today. I'm really enjoying all of your questions, so I appreciate that. Actually, let me double check. Okay, I got a couple more donation-based questions. So Krati, I'm going to get to yours here in a moment, and Ascending and CT, I'll be getting yours in a moment. I'm just going to take care of Reba's here first, and I'll get to your two. Reba says, hi, Brad. If we were able to disregard what we have been told and just viewed ourselves as energy, would we be able to teleport? Are we only limited by our minds? Is it physically possible? It's not as difficult to teleport as you think it is. Okay. Really what it is that you just simply want to be aware of yourself. You're not trying to convert yourself simply to energy. You're not trying to eliminate your form, right? What you're doing is you're making your form fluid. So basically what that means is that you're aware of every single one of your cells, and you're aware that the body itself can simply dematerialize here and rematerialize here. It's kind of like you're seeing it much more in a fluidic standpoint. It's not seeing something so rock hard that can't move in between to aligning that one vibration into another location, okay? There are certain people on the planet who are actually teaching people how to apport things. Not teleport, but apport. For example, if I'm holding up a pair of scissors right here, and I'm looking to teleport these scissors from one side of my desk to another, that really what it is that I have to lift the frequency of the scissors up to the higher planes, and then being able to bring it back down into another area of the desk, so on the opposite side altogether. So it seems a little bit complicated, but it really is not. It's just the idea of being able to lift every single atom within your body, putting it into the highest vibration, and then dropping it into a certain area. So you're not really seeing yourself as energy, but you're putting your body into that higher energetic spectrum, and that's dropping into another location altogether. And that is what we would call teleportation. There's the other idea of portal technology, where you're working together with apertures, where you're actually opening up apertures in a location that basically shortens the distance between two places, right? All that really is just a matter of being able to truncate or conjunct one particular area that you have imprinted with a portal, the other area that has been imprinted with a portal, and it's basically just coming together as one space. In actuality, it's not really like folding an accordion. It's just that those two spaces meet like this. And then you're stepping in, and then you're going out to the other place. And of course, the ancient sages and ancient oracles, sorcerers also have the capability of doing that. They would often do that through magic rites ceremonies. But the ability to teleport will be something that will be technological. We will have a technology of it. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they're working with it right now. right? They're basically trying just to transport maybe a small amount of matter into a dish or something of that nature. So it is absolutely very possible. Can we do this with our own consciousness? Of course. Nothing is impossible with your own consciousness. But what you're doing is you're lifting yourself up into that spectrum, and then you're dropping yourself back down, right? So you don't have to imagine yourself as energy, but you're just seeing your entire being going up into that higher energy spectrum and then being dropped down into the location that you prefer. That's really how it works. Okay. Reba, thank you very much for your question. All right. Let's go to Krati's question here. Krati, thank you for your donation. You said, Adronis, can Reiki heal chronic health conditions? Okay, 1 minute. We thank you very much, Krati, for your question about Reiki. Now, before we answer your question, Krati, let us ask you the question, what does Reiki stand for? Well, let's break it apart. Firstly, let's take a look at the end, the last 2 letters of the word, ki. What does that mean? Well, that is Japanese for life force energy, just as you would call it chi or prana or anything of that nature. Then we have Rei. And what does Rei represent? The universe, something that is universal, something that represents, again, all compatibility, all possibilities. So really, we could say that Reiki equals universal energy. You see? So it is not about the Reiki itself. It is about the practitioner. You see, you are the medium. You are the bridge, which means if you are expert in the great amount of practices that you have put towards the nature of working with Reiki, you can do incredible things because you have devoted yourself to the craft. You have devoted yourself to the practicing of working as a conduit. And as a conduit, all types of matters pertaining to healing concerns can be remedied. It's up to you. It's not up to the art itself. You see, looking at a canvas and having a color palette and a brush just laying on a stool, you are not going to see that brush dip itself into a certain color and then start putting strokes upon the canvas by itself. It needs the artist. It needs the painter. The very same thing applies pertaining to the nature of Reiki. Reiki requires a practitioner who is learned, who has devoted themselves to functioning with the practice of them being a bridge. And if they do it well, there is no limitations to what can be achieved through that. It is not about Reiki, it's about you. And if you are the one that is working together with the craft and developing yourself and evolving yourself further, you will see all kinds of beautiful miracles that will come about with you being the bridge of source consciousness. All right? We thank you for your question. Thank you, Krati, for your question. And now we're going to look at the Ascending in CT's question. I think he says, has President number 45 been compromised? No. So there's the answer to your question. Okay. It's not about the idea of compromise here, because if we're looking at the idea of number 45, which I feel that you're knowing who that is, we're not seeing that. Now, of course, he does have stand-ins. He does have doppelgangers, you could say. He basically doesn't go to certain places, or sometimes where his doubles will go in his place. But has he been compromised in regards to what he promises he's going to do? No, not that I can see. I've looked into him quite extensively. He is very truthful in regards to what he wants to bring forward as coming back into office. So that's just my perspective, because that's all I offer in this this webcast, guys, is I'm not here to give you the gospel. I'm just here to give you a perspective. And there it is. All right. Thank you very much for your question. Thank you, everybody, for your questions today. We are out of time. I appreciate you guys being here today. I'm going to be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific time for the signposts. Okay, so we're going to be looking at more current event-based questions and topics tomorrow on the signposts here on Wisdom Transmissions YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being here today. Appreciate it, guys. I'll see you all tomorrow. Take care. Blessings. Namaskar. And may it be well with you. Goodbye for now.